We are going to get started. So thank you all for joining us today to learn about how we'll implement Vermont's digital equity plan. So today is the first quarterly meeting that serves as an opportunity for exchanging updates and informing the work to get Vermont connected to the internet. So my name is Brittany Watson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Digital Equity Officer for Vermont Community Broadband Board, or VCBB. So the Vermont Community Broadband Board is the administering entity for federal funding for two programs. So the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD program, and the Digital Equity Program. So the BEAD work focuses on building out high-speed internet with the goal of all Vermont homes being connected and able to afford internet service plans. And the digital equity work focuses on what happens after all Vermont homes gets connected. So having the devices, skill set, resources, and safety measures to use the internet safely and meaningfully. So in our time today, we will introduce ourselves and share updates that we have around digital equity work happening in our communities. I'll then present an update about the work that we're doing, and then we'll open the space for discussion after that. And then we'll end our time with next steps. So any questions to the agenda? Okay. Okay. So there are the definition for digital equity is the condition in which individuals and communities have the information technology capacity that is needed for full participation in the society and economy of the United States. So there are 3 Digital Equity Act funding programs. The first program is the State Digital Equity Planning Grant Program. And that program, Vermont received about $518,000 to develop its digital equity plan. So we created and convened a core planning team, engaged members of the public to inform this plan. So this plan has 5 goals that are below the program descriptions. So we recently accepted the capacity grant program funds of about 5.3 million. So that is one of 3 funding rounds that we will receive. And so the work using capacity grant funds is choosing programs and activities that will achieve these 5 goals that are outlined in the digital equity plan. So the total amount we'll receive, we have 50% of that amount for this year. That's the 5.3 million. And we anticipate we will receive an additional 25% next year and 25% the year after. So the competitive grant program is for agencies and organizations to apply for competitive funding to perform work that'll complement the work that the VCBB will be doing in working to achieve these 5 goals. So the application closed for the competitive grant funding. And there was a first round of awards that were just announced. And we currently in Vermont have 1 awardee and hope there will be more announced in the future. So Vermont's vision for digital equity is that work will ensure every individual in Vermont, regardless of identity, community, or economic challenges, has high quality, accessible, affordable technology resources. So we identified 5 programs and activities to achieve the goals in the digital equity plan. So we're calling this plan our digital empowerment plan. So I want to note that due to the political climate, states, including ours, are starting to shift wording to protect this important work. So please know the work we are doing is still digital equity, stemming from the Digital Equity Act, and what we're working towards is digital empowerment. And so you'll see here, we have addressing data limitations. So for those of you who have been aware of the work that's been happening over the last year plus, know that we learned that we needed to do additional work to better understand the needs for Vermont. We're going to be implementing 3 programs next year. So it's the Capacity Building Subgrant Program, where we're looking to build the capacity of organizations that both represent and serve covered populations so that they can scale their capacity to be able to do digital equity work. We're going to implement a regional device program. And so it's being able to offer or provide devices to Vermonters in need at low to no cost. And we'll be implementing a digital navigator program, which is going to increase access to digital resources and have multiple partnerships and collaborations in that effort. And then in year 3, we're going to be working on expanding our workforce development program. And so the BCBB already has a workforce development program that is primarily working to achieve goals through our BEAD program. So by year 3, we'll be focusing on expanding that work to include digital equity specific programming. So there's been a lot of work put into getting us to this point where we can begin putting our wants and hopes into action. And this would not be possible without the help of our core planning team. And so I really wanted to just take time to really appreciate and sincerely thank every core team member for their service and their continued support of this work. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. So now we'll be getting into introductions and share outs. So I'm going to go to my participant list. And actually, I'm wondering, Christina, are you willing to look at your participant list and then just call out names as as they go in order for the share out and introductions? Great. So Christina will read through her participant list and we'll read out names as they appear on her list. And when your name is called, please introduce yourself, what brings you into this space. And we're asking everyone to provide an update or an offering that you have about digital equity work you're doing or know about, and what your biggest barrier to using the internet is. So if you do not have a digital equity related update, that's okay. You can just answer the prompt. Okay, I'll kick it to you. Thanks.
Okay, thanks everyone. And instead of starting at the beginning or the end of the alphabet, I'm going to mix it up a little bit and start in the middle. So we're going to start with Jane and then go alphabetically by first name from there. So we will start with Jane Hecker-Kane.
I'm a sign language interpreter. I'm not a member of this committee.
Great, thank you. And we will then move to Jean Walsh, or Jeannie. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Apologize.
Hi, Jean, but a lot of friends call me Jeannie. So I'm at the Brooks Memorial Library. Digital equity work for us often means just being here, being humans relating to other humans who come in who have to fill out forms and do the work of modern life, and need assistance with just endless tasks that require high-speed internet and equipment. And we do a lot of workarounds, and we try to be patient, and we share in a lot of frustration with our folks who come to the library. So yeah, we're glad that people are working in this realm and helping there be equity and empowerment.
Thank you, Jean. Next, we have a new member of our team at the Vermont Community Broadband Board, Jose Aguayo.
Sorry, I was trying to get myself connected. How are you? Hey there.
Okay. Next on our list, we're going to move on to L. We have Laura Siegel.
Hello, my name is Laura Siegel. I work for the Department of Disability, Aging, and Independent Living. A lot of my referral, I would say maybe like half of it, is related to assistive technology. And oftentimes the conversation comes up that I always have to ask, do you have easy access to the internet or not? And if not, then I try to connect them with all the resources where they can have access to them. But as far as their as a unit, it hadn't really come up, unfortunately. But I'm more than happy to check in with my entire department to see if it comes up and then share an update for the next meeting, if you like. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we have Morgan Nichols.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Nichols. I'm a community liaison for Congresswoman Ballant. I am in our Burlington office, and I am one of our liaisons who focuses on broadband. So I'm just really eager and excited to be here to listen to the conversation. So I'm probably going to be on video for most of the call, but I'm listening in. So I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, Nora Kennedy.
Hi, I'm also one of the interpreters.
Thanks, Nora. Robbie Blish.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Robbie Blish. I'm with Vermont Covered, and we are a nonprofit here in Vermont that is focused on broadband and wireless broadband connectivity. We think it's essential for public safety, rural equity, education, job opportunities, economic development, healthcare, agriculture. And we're just trying to make sure all Vermonters are connected so they can fully participate in our digital world. Right now, we're focused primarily on the mobile broadband build out because so many folks maybe that can't afford a connectivity for broadband rely on their phones, their smartphones to do that type of connectivity. And we are working with one of our projects that we have going on is we're working with the Agritech Institute for Small Farms, and we're working with them to try to use goats to clear ski areas, power lines around maybe solar farms where you can't get mowers or trimming equipment. It's also very green and sustainable, and but it requires cellular connectivity for them to be able to monitor the goats and make sure that they're going to stay within whatever parameter that they've set up. We also recently we applied for a grant with the NTIA. It was a digital equity competitive grant to build out about 100 miles of unserved roadways in Vermont. And we didn't receive that grant. So we're still looking to maybe put that project forward, but we'll find maybe another solution to be able to do that. So that's what Vermont Covered is all about. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad that this program is being implemented for digital equity.
Thanks, Robbie. Next, we have a pair of Sarahs, Sarah Hoffman, followed by Sarah Launderville.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, I'm Sarah Hoffman, and I was recently appointed to the Broadband Board the end of last year, and am very interested in the digital empowerment that we're doing and wanted to tune in because I'm still on my learning curve, so really appreciate presentations like this. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sarah Launderville. I'm the director of the Vermont Center for Independent Living. We're a disability justice organization serving Vermont statewide. And some of the stuff that we work on is really around technical assistance, making sure that with all of the different online meetings that they're actually accessible, that people understand how to, use captioning and hire a captioner or an ASL interpreter, those sorts of things, and also talking about visual disabilities and that thing. And then reaching out to places and doing advocacy work around select boards. Like the more that we do public, stuff online, that making sure that they're accessible to folks with disabilities. And then the other question, and I guess we also, we run some programs that help people connect to equipment that they need for to live more independently. And in terms of like, what's my barrier? It's just when the internet goes out, just like probably a lot of other people. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Tiffany Walker, followed by Tracy Rue.
Hey, thank you. I'm Tiffany Walker. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce at the Community College of Vermont. And for me, it is about all of Vermont, as we get a lot of people coming from all over the state coming to college that don't have access. But my particular interest is Vermont's incarcerated population. For our corrections program, we do have my director here as well. So when you get to the Bs, I'll let him fill you in a little bit more on that. But we certainly have quite a large barrier there in offering college level courses inside Vermont's correctional institutions when we don't have internet. So hoping for that in the coming year.
Hi, my name is Tracy Rue. I work for the Vermont Assistive Technology Program. This is a free program that's available to any Vermonter. We particularly serve Vermonters with disabilities around access to education, recreation, daily living, all the things. Today, I've met with 2 people, just trying to figure out how to get access to the keyboard when they have tremors, or how to use the mouse to access telehealth, or how to get into your email to pay your bills. And something that's been coming up a lot is how to spot and identify a scam, because they are becoming very tricky to spot. It's not the old ways of spotting them are not working. I almost fell for one this morning. So we work with all ages. So we're working with digital access in schools. We're working with folks that are older, teens, college students, everybody. It's literally 90% of our work. So my biggest barrier to using the internet, no cell phone service at my house. So if my internet goes down, I don't have access to my phone anymore, because I also don't have a landline. So that's hard for us.
Thank you. Next, we have William Colvin, followed by Susanna Davis.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Bill Colvin. I'm the director of the Bennington County Regional Planning Commission. I serve on the core team representing the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies, which is the organization of the 11 regional planning commissions around the state. This work is important to the RPCs as we update our regional plans and then go out and work with municipalities in updating their municipal plans to make sure the recommendations in the digital empowerment plan are incorporated into those planning documents at the local and regional level. Dialing it down to kind of our office-specific work, we also provide the capacity to the Southern Vermont Communications Union District. And now that that network has been built out to service all but or the availability to all but a handful of addresses in our region, we want to make sure that people are in a position to take advantage of that new resource. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. Susanna Davis, Executive Director of Racial Equity for the state. One of the things that we are involved in related to digital equity is we are serving as a little bit of a conduit / connector for our municipalities who are enrolled in our Ideal Vermont initiative to help them get up to speed with the new web content accessibility guidelines that have been promulgated at the federal level. And largely what that means is we're serving as connectors with people at the state level who can assist and provide more information and coaching. The other thing that we are involved in that it seems like I'm always reporting back here, and one day I'm going to be really happy when I don't have to because it'll be done. That'll be rolling out a statewide language access plan, which is really going to be critical for people, residents and visitors of Vermont who are those who may speak spoken languages beyond English, or people living with disabilities who may have communication access needs in the digital space. The biggest barrier for me to using the internet is misusing the internet, because there's a lot of distractions out there. And sometimes it's just because I have the attention span of a fruit fly, but sometimes it's because the internet is designed to capture you and not let you go. And I just ask that the robots release me, because I'm just trying to do research and there's just too much attractive stuff out there, or scams, as were just mentioned. And so I am asking you to pray for me because it's a big internet.
Thank you. Next, we have another new staff member at Vermont Community Broadband Board, Eugene Lee. Then I will introduce myself and we'll move up to the top of the.
Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm a digital equity data specialist and VCBB. My work at VCBB is analyzing data from survey, focus group interview, and also public source to better understand the digital challenges people face in Vermont, and also using those insights to help support and improve the digital equity programs. In my experience, I think digital literacy is a big barrier, particularly when it comes to advanced digital skills, the skills and also the cyber security. Yeah, just like other mentioned, the scams and also those kind of trash emails and also something like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Yuji. My name is Christina Sweet. I also go by Kay, no preference. And I am also part of the team here at the Vermont Community Broadband Board. Really excited to be doing this work. And I would say that on a day-to-day basis, I don't have many barriers to using the internet, but I think keeping on top of cybersecurity awareness and our state of Vermont mandated trainings are important to me, because that will allow me to get the right Agency of Digital Services approvals to be able to work well in other countries like Canada, which I occasionally like to do.
Am I next?
You're muted, Christina, when you announce the next person.
I'm sorry. Next we have Andrew Tarley, followed by Brian Kravitz.
I had mislabeled myself Andrew Tarley, and I also know that he's logged in, but knowing the way Andrew works, he's got his hands dipped in a couple of different projects at the same time.
Great, well, we can move on to Brian then.
I can also actually go, sorry, Christina. I also was mislabeled Andrew. I think we came in on his link. Sorry about that.
Sure.
Tonya Ozone. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for NEK CV. Our brands are NEK Broadband and CV Fiber. So our mission is to bring high-speed internet to all 71 towns across Northeast Kingdom and Central Vermont. And we also are very passionate about digital equity. We have internally, in partnership with NECA, launched a digital equity program where we are providing access, device, skill sets to residents in the Northeast Kingdom and Central Vermont. We've currently put 23 people through the program. Many have now become gainfully employed and are going back to school. So we're very excited about what's possible with the rest of the state and being a good partner and steward here in Vermont. Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
I'm really glad.
I'm really glad you said that because I'm also Andrew Tarley, which I didn't realize until you said that you were Andrew Tarley coming in on Andrew Tarley's link. So I'm actually Ellie DeFilliers. I'm the executive director of Maple Broadband, which is one of the communications union districts, and I'm the chair of the Vermont CED Association. So part of the large crew of Vermonters that's working to get universal access to fiber broadband throughout the state. And then, of course, as within Vercuda, we're very interested in digital equity. And I actually personally have a long background in affordable access. I'm speaking to you guys right now from South Africa, where I used to live, and I'm here on vacation now, but calling into this call and doing a little bit of work while I'm here. So.
And I'll jump in and introduce myself as the other version of Andrew Tarley, Deb Shannon. I was the coordinator of the Vermont Digital Equity Coalition that I spent a couple of months interviewing people from the northernmost tips of Vermont to the southernmost about the needs of digital equity, the tools that we already have in place, and the gaps that we face, both in partnership with Vercuda as they build out broadband for everybody, as well as for the individuals in our towns, whether it's the libraries, the medical service providers, our educators, and regular people who are just trying to gain entertainment and services like everybody else can in more urban places. So glad to be on this call today. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Next, we have Brian Kravitz, followed by Brian O'Connor.
I feel like I should get to ask a few questions and then say, will the real Andrew Tarley please stand up? Anyway, so I'm Brian Kravitz at Central Vermont Adult Ed, and I'm kind of representing Vermont's Adult Ed and Literacy Network. As a network, people don't realize that digital literacy requires a base level of literacy. Those people who don't have basic literacy, they don't have any digital literacy. They have no ability to use a computer. They have no ability to sometimes use a phone they can use, maybe voice to text. So we fill in those gaps. We provide higher level skills. We do North Star digital literacy across the state to ensure that people have literacy skills and prepare people for careers in college. Personally, my biggest issue is I can't cut the cord with Xfinity. I'd like to go to Fidium and go to Fidium because it's a lot cheaper, but I'm so locked into Xfinity after 20 some odd years. So that's my first world problem. Thanks.
My name is Brian O'Connor. I'm the Director of Corrections Education at CCV. So as Tiffany alluded to before, we're standing up a prison education program in the Department of Corrections, and getting access to those students is a big part of the job. Our students that are incarcerated need connectivity in order to fully participate in their education, and that's a hard service to ensure that they're provided. Chief barriers to that are security issues and decades-old cinder block walls that it's honestly just hard to get a signal through. So we're working closely with corrections to get through that, but I think it's a pretty interesting issue from an equity perspective too.
Thank you. Next, we have Casey Winterson, followed by Christine Hallquist.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Casey Winterson. I am the Director of Economic and Community-Based Services at Northeast Kingdom Community Action. I sit here wearing a couple of different hats. I'm the liaison for the Vermont Community Action Partnership, which is the 5 community action agencies that are across across the entirety of Vermont, covering all of the different towns. And so I sit as the liaison for that. I also am here as part of the NECA crew. And we, got our foot in the door with the Affordable Connectivity Program around digital equity and getting folks connected. And after that, ran out of funds, continued on as our wonderful partner Tanya Ozone said, in a collaboration with NEK Broadband, now NEK CV, around digital equity in the Northeast Kingdom, and created a pilot program to be able to serve those that were familiar with the ACP program and maybe coming off of it and needed that continued support. And then lastly, I am part of the coalition that Deb Shannon was speaking about a little while ago, and co-authored a $12 million ask to the NTIA for the Digital Equity Competitive Grant. And that is made up of the Vermont Community Action Partnership, the Council on Aging, the Adult Ed Network, and a number of other partners looking to continue to bring digital equity to the state of Vermont. Thanks.
And I am Christine Hultquist, and by definition, I should be well informed on the digital equity programs, as I'm the executive director of the Vermont Community Broadband Board. But I do look at this as really the key. This is the why we're doing these connections. And my experience goes way back, which I'll tell you what leads up to my problems today. You know, I like to say I'm a recovering engineer. 1984, had to put a computer on the Carnegie Mellon network that was international, that probably became one of the earliest political soapboxes that was shut down by the FBI because of international problems it created with politics. I was a cybersecurity expert for the Department of Energy from 2011 to 2013, which ties to my message today. The biggest problem that I have is misinformation and conspiracy theories. So as we, you know, anyway, that's my biggest problem.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we have Damian Royer and Destiny Pierce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Damian Royer. I am a program manager with a local nonprofit called Technology for Tomorrow. So our whole goal is providing technology training to underserved communities, so especially older adults, new Americans, people seeking employment. Our goal is to get them online, make sure they stay safe, and if they're looking for workforce development training, providing that as well. And then I guess the other hat I wear is I was the lead project manager for the aforementioned coalition, seeking to provide more digital equity training, especially here in the state of Vermont, alongside the Vermont Adult Learning Alliance, the NEK community action groups, various COAs, and a number of other groups across Vermont. So that's myself. I guess my largest issue with the internet is correcting, like Christine said, correcting a lot of misinformation on the internet, trying to provide people with enough knowledge about scams and other dangerous routes so that they can get online, they can stay safe, protect their identity, and still access this massive network of information that's available.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Destiny. I'm the network manager with the Vermont Environmental Justice Network. And typically we focus on marginalized communities and how they experience indoor and outdoor environments while frontlining those communities through our work. So we currently don't have digital equity efforts. The term was just new to me recently, actually, but it makes so much sense why it's needed. We've recently added it to our 2025 legislative priorities, and I would love to just support any of your guys' efforts around this. My biggest barrier to using the internet, I think internet service options are one. There aren't many in Vermont. My partner is a streamer for work, so high-speed internet was really important, and it honestly was very difficult to get reliable internet in Underhill. We were lucky to barely even get Xfinity in our location, maybe like a mile out in the zone. And yeah, so Brittany mentioned how this relates to how people can like access job opportunities or just important information. So I just think it's important to know how people like experience our world in today's digital age, and how people get news and information. Everyone should just have access to those types of tools. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to see how we can all play a role in this.
Thank you. And finally, we have Emily Hilliard and Heron Herzog.
Hi, my name is Emmy Hilliard. I'm very honored to be a part of this conversation. I think I want to share a story that happened last week when I was teaching a class at Fletcher Free that is very symbolic of why these efforts and our collective insights and wisdom and support around them are so important. I had a 92-year-old student who took the time to go to the class that I was teaching at the library and come to class in tears because the 3 quarters that she had brought, that she's always used at the parking meters, were now digitized with an app that she didn't have a phone to know how to access this app, and was just incredibly scared, worried that she was parking illegally. How could she park, and so on and so on. And I think all of us here have those stories, and I have unfortunately hundreds of them to share. And that was the most recent one. And I think it just amplifies the need for this work. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it because it is really important work. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room who have probably associated me with my work as Director of Family Support at Vermont Family Network. But I'm also part of a nonprofit, a newer nonprofit, Grow Digital Skills. And we're basically going anywhere that will take us. And right now, those are friendly spaces such as libraries, sometimes senior centers. We're teaching courses at a local high school right now. And what we're seeing is really for every generation of Vermonters, they're all facing challenges around this digital empowerment. For our older Vermonters, it's all about basic access and dignity, like my story previously kind of amplified. And then also for our younger Vermonters, especially around school. And I know somebody's already talked about AI, but that is fast and furiously kind of widening those gaps. And I think the biggest barrier is frankly just getting everybody to do stuff like this, which is connecting all of our wider resources and building this net together, because there's a lot of passionate people that want to change this. And I think getting the chance to come together and build our resources is going to be so important. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Heron Herzog. I'm the Communications and Outreach Manager at the VCBB, and I am leading the DE Outreach Work Plan, worked with Brittany on that. So I look forward to hearing from everyone, and then also always welcome any ideas for getting the word out about this work. I think that's one of something that's a real challenge here and really important. So always looking for new ideas on how to reach everybody and the people who really need to hear about what we're working on. So welcome everyone, and looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. And finally, I believe Matthew Lafleur joined during our introduction. So Matthew, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you can share anything about the digital equity related work you're involved in or know about, and your biggest barrier to using the internet.
Yes, thank you. This is Matthew LaFleur. Thank you. Sorry for being late. We know how internet is across Vermont. If you're outside Chittenden County or Central Vermont, you're screwed. Literally, you have no connection. But connection means ways by means, accessibility or accommodation. There's no chance for that unless you get mad at government, and that's not helpful. But yeah, yes, for me, the digital equity work that I work with is, it's not just, with my dear friend Desiree Pierce, ain't just with them, but also with others like, the UVM, Autism Collaborative, and, All Brains Belong to Vermont, which is a nonprofit organization that's held in Montpelier, Vermont, also understands this, that digital equity, it's, it's for the very few, or should I say, for the wealthy of individuals across Vermont, but not everybody feels that. To me, the way that I work with this, equity is trying to collaborate. The big question is, why isn't the state of Vermont collaborating more with its partners, including the rural communities that really need the help? Because it seems like, we do this big talk about, about equity, but is it just talk, or we're just saying what we need to say so other people can just basically get off our backs? I'm honest. I'm going to be honest to you. That's what I'm hearing across the state. It's like, we'll say what we need to say, so we don't want anybody, you basically don't have to deal with it. But we have to deal with this equity work right here now. Literally, internet's a big issue across the state of Vermont. Even my rural town doesn't even have what you call Comcast fiber, even just the basic, even FISO fiber of Verizon, we only have the basic, even of fiber, it's and the work that I'm doing across the state is very important. And equity enshrines with collaboration. And if I can't work with equity or collaborate, then I'm going to tell you this, like I told everybody on my committees, then we all fail as a state. Plain and simple. Let's not beat around the bush about it. Let's take this seriously as it comes and try to make sure everyone, every community, everywhere is connected with digital equity, but also digital accessibility and accommodation. So we're not leaving the most marginalized, not just marginalized communities, but also the most vulnerable out there without anything. And like myself, it's just, it's hard to connect to the internet these days just to speak up, just to share my experience and concerns. And I think, what I'm doing across the state is very vital and important. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my concerns and expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. That is a great note to end this section on. I will pass it off to Brittany.
Okay, great. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for sharing. I think it's really important just to know who's in this space. One of the intents behind these quarterly meetings now is going to be around connecting on important digital equity work. And so just hearing the many people in the room that are doing this work, and maybe if anyone gave a introduction that interests you, hopefully you can make connections even outside of this meeting space. And so with that, I am going to share my screen again. You all can see my screen, right? Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, our digital equity plan will take place over the next 5 years. So we just received our capacity grant funding, and so that period of performance is 5 years. So in year one, we're going to be focusing on research and outreach. So we recognized during the planning phase that we were lacking data and needed to address this before we can begin launching the programs. So we're confident that we're meeting the needs of all Vermonters. So we also recognize the importance of raising awareness about this work and building momentum for buy-in and what it can mean for Vermont to have to be fully connected. And so we have a plan to engage Vermonters for both the data gathering and information sharing and the relationship building process. And you'll see that we have some monthly activities that we'll be doing, as well as, and I think it's also important to note here, our work kicks off this month in January. And we have an obligation through our federal funder to update our capacity grant application and our digital equity plan. And that's going to be about around the September timeline for that. And so a lot of our research efforts in particular are going to happen in a way that allows us to meet that timeline so that we can best update and know and prepare for the following year of launching the programs. Then I will provide more information on the research. And so we have multiple layers to research. So we are in process of hiring a research contractor. That contractor will be primarily responsible for the research the research work that's happening this year. So they're going to be doing the data collection analysis for all covered populations, which I'll get into in just a little bit, but just as kind of a briefing, it's like there are 8 identified covered populations that are determined to be like on the worst part of the digital divide. that we need to put specific efforts into working with and efforts in bridging that divide. We have a UVM graduate student through our partnership with UVM that is assisting us with data collection analysis specific for the incarcerated population. We have there is an assistant professor through UVM that is doing some data collection analysis on the impact of broadband on communities. And so this is work that we're interested in, that we will be checking in on and having it inform our work. And then we have Yuji Lee, who was introduced earlier through the introductions. And Yuji's our data specialist, and Yuji will be overseeing the research programming. So going more in depth into the covered populations, there's 8 covered populations total, and there are 3 covered populations that during our planning phase that we identified that we do not have enough data on to confidently be able to have our plan to serve. So those populations are the rural population, the incarcerated, and racial or ethnic minority. And so we are going to be focused in particular on these 3 populations as we're moving forward to ensure that we have adequate information for all covered populations. So our goals in the next year will be to identify differences and challenges in connecting all Vermonters meaningfully to the internet, to establish a baseline of where we're starting so we can best track and monitor how we're going to progress, and have the proper tools and supports in place to do so. So we'll have a data hub to properly and securely store our data, and having a dashboard for open and honest communication and sharing of information with the public. So we identified the inputs, the activities, the outputs, outcomes, and impacts of the research that we'll conduct this year. And so largely what I think is really important to know is we're hoping for our outcomes to have improved understanding of digital access barriers, more stakeholder engagement in our data collection efforts. We're going to increase our visibility and continued public engagement through the interactive dashboards. And we're hoping to have more data-driven decision-making to improve our digital equity programs that we're going to launch next year. So now I'll shift to talking about engagement tools and strategies. So our engagement tools and strategies were developed using several resources and peer learning and sharing with other states. So the VCBB began engaging stakeholders as part of our efforts in drafting the digital equity plan. We continue to establish partnerships to support our efforts to turn our vision into action. So we continue to establish partnerships to support that will help us implement varying levels of collaboration for the sustainable outcomes we're looking to achieve. We'll also work with community leaders and lived experts in Vermont to support our implementation efforts, as well as inform this process. So we'll host press conferences, press releases, and pitch stories to receive coverage on our work to reach the state. The importance here is really to build and maintain momentum through our use of the media. So we'll use email and social media campaigns to build awareness and education of digital access and opportunities. This will look like posting on our social media, emailing partners with a request to share the communications with their networks, as well as paid marketing and emails specifically to identify organizations or individuals that are doing or interested in this work. Our focus at the VCBB is to ensure meaningful engagement building trust and rapport with Vermont communities, and utilizing the power of story in our work. So to me, there's no better way to capture the needs of Vermonters than to hear it directly from them. So we'll be hosting community events that will include focus groups, joining existing meetings, and hosting joint sessions with trusted organizations so that we can better learn directly from Vermonters. So we held listening sessions during the planning phase of drafting the digital equity plan, and we'll continue that practice following the launch today, where I'll host as the digital equity officer monthly listening sessions, which was just a way to provide a space to communicate with me for us to check in on any needs or any issues that folks are aware of that they feel the VCBB should know about. And then we have, we'll use our website as an information hub for members of the public to have access to important documents, find information on upcoming events, and provide ways for members of the public to contact us and to share input. And so this will be, you'll be able to access this through our website. And currently our website functions as an information hub. So this is the end of my presentation. So I do want to say I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share about this work. And I want to reiterate, you can contact Karen Herzog regarding outreach, Yuji Lee regarding research, or myself as the program lead to learn more, to check in on the work between quarterly check-ins. So we're going to shift into the open discussion. And so I'm going to first open the space for anyone with questions or comments that they have, and then we can just see where the conversation leads us. Thank you. Sarah, I see your hands raised.
This is Sarah Launderville. Just one thing when I know it's already in your minds, but just want to say it out loud that social media campaigns, especially when using other companies, which it sounds like you might be doing, sometimes forget to do things like image descriptions and whatnot on pictures. And so just making sure that that's sort of like, as you're looking forward, of how to make sure they're truly doing things that are accessible, captioning on videos, that sort of thing. But I'm really excited about the work, and thanks, Brittany, for your leadership and presentation.
Thank you for that, Sarah. And yes, we'll definitely put image descriptions in future presentations. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo, thank you, Brittany, for getting us all together in the same room, and especially for the upcoming kind of monthly check-ins. I love that. I'm really looking forward to that. What do you suggest are like next best steps for those of us who are advocates and organizations? Like, what does that look like next? Like, should we just be trying to connect with you individually, or like how do we kind of stay in the know on this stuff? I know the website and everything, but what's like brass tacks, what's the best way that we can support this work, and like what does that look like for people like me? How do we do that?
So I think what's coming up for me, there's multiple ways that you can be involved, right? So there's of course we have we'll do monthly listening sessions that I'll host, and they'll be probably in the evening, like during the work week, and may shift depending on like finding a time that feels more accessible. And then we're going to be having these quarterly sessions, which my intent and like what we experienced today is that there will be folks that are doing this work outside of VCBB that are also going to be able to be here to present on or to talk through like what they're doing. And so ways you can get involved. VCBB, we've been going back and forth, thinking through having a newsletter. And so if that's something that you feel could be helpful, especially in between, the quarterly sessions, we can definitely put more energy into getting that started and offering that as a resource for the public. There's also like if you're seeing other organizations or organizations in your community that are doing work and you want to volunteer in what they're doing, that's great. We're going to be looking for volunteers, especially as we're launching our programs in the coming year. Right now, because we're focused on outreach and research, any advocacy or any like utilizing your networks can be helpful for us because we know that, especially in Vermont, with it being a small town, it adds to the legitimacy of the work when there are trusted people that are talking about it and promoting it. And so all of that is very helpful. And particularly as we learn more about our research, my hope is that the research and the data that we learn will maybe be able to help better identify important needs. And I think when we have that information, we do plan to host a quarterly session, like following the ending of our research work. And I think that'll be a really important time too, where we can start looking at what do we do with that information and how do we move forward? How do we show up for Vermont in a way that can allow us, allow that work to really mean something. And I'll pause there and I'll also like just Heron and Yuji, if either of you have anything to add, the leads and research and outreach.
Well, I would add, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, and you talked about it in your presentation, Brittany, is we would love to be able to be invited to some of your organizations to talk about our work as well. So if there's some space on your agenda in an upcoming meeting, I know Brittany would love to attend. If Brittany can't attend, I would love to attend, or both of us, or all of us, or Yuji or Christina. We're all really passionate about this work and really trying to spread the word. So that's something too that could be helpful.
Yeah, I think for regarding the research part, I think we really need help for the data collection. So we will have a lot of like online survey interview upcoming in the next few months. So it will be very helpful you if you can support for this kind of data collections. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Great, thanks. And I see Matthew, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Brittany, for, doing everything. Yes, one of the things that you brought up is, the whole volunteers. The whole volunteer to me I take that very, very serious. I think that's overrated because the way it projects itself in Vermont, as we know, we need to compensate individuals doing this work. I know me and you know that that it is very, very important to do this work. We gotta feel welcome. We gotta feel accomplished in this work. I think if we're trying to have to recruit volunteers, and we want to compensate them, even if because this stuff is not going to be cheap. This stuff is not going to be like if we keep asking for volunteers instead of compensating. Where's equity in that? For one, that's question number one. And question number two is can we make this summary, simplify it like plain language? As we may know, plain language and icons like Sarah brought up, because there's individuals like myself, Desiree, other people of the community that have disabilities that can't understand or read what you're saying within this program. We know Vermont is very technical and complex. We understand that, but to the point that we're turning away our participants, to a point they don't want to be to engage at all. And that's something that I have to bring up because it's serious. It's the outlook of Vermont moving forward of what we're going to be if we can't get these collaboration off the ground. And that's something moving forward that we gotta contend with. Is how can we get people to participate? And to me, it's just like I think just compensating people would be the best way to attract them than trying to do what Vermont does. Is we want volunteers, and me and you both know that it's overrated in a way where we want free service from you, but we don't want to give things in return. And that just it shows a different sight of life, and I know equity is a big thing, and we got to make sure that we enshrine that in a way where it respects everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. And I'm seeing your comments in the chat, Laura, as well, about the importance of going to people instead of expecting them to come to us. And so definitely we are committed to doing that. And if you have any events that you know of, or any standing meetings for any organizations or boards you're a part of where we can attend and present, we're happy to do that, as Heron mentioned. Are there any other like questions or comments that folks had to put into the space?
Yeah, Destiny here. I just have one comment. If you need help with data collections, maybe you could send out questionnaires that orgs can share and we'll give the feedback back to you. As you know, Brittany, we do our environmental justice in your community listening sessions where we go to different places in Vermont to get data from those communities themselves about what they're lacking and what they need. And we have an event in the Northeast Kingdom on the 25th in St. Johnsbury, and we might have one more slot for like a 10-minute slot for like a speaker, and I think that this could also fit there. So if anyone of you are available, let me know. We could get that situated.
Yeah, what date was that, Destiny?
It was January 25th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take that back and we'll try to get someone from our team to attend if we can. So thank you so much for that offer. Appreciate it. Emmy, I see your hands raised.
Sorry. Yes, I don't want to take away from other people's questions, but I did have a quick question because I don't have a lot of meetings per se, but I would love to have whoever wants to come out to like a class or one of my presentations, and like there's an opportunity to survey some of the individuals who are eager to learn. Is that a possibility? Because that's always an open invitation as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
We can do that. I just made note of that too. Appreciate that. And the something else that I was thinking of too, coming into this space and wanting to talk through. Of course, this year, for year one, we're focused on research and outreach. But next year, we're going to be starting to launch our programs. And so at least one of our programs, the capacity building subgrant program, is going to come with some funding that could be available. And so part of our thinking around that is we want to fund organizations that are already doing this direct service work, right? So it's like the same idea of not wanting to reinvent any wheel. And while we're also reimagining what it means to have a seat at the table, right, for Vermont, and ensuring that we're going beyond like going into communities, asking questions to bring back to make decisions, right? Like, how do we make it more of this like integrative, like sense of participation, right? Like a greater sense. So that's like the intent behind the capacity building subgrant program, where we're going to be having a like request for proposals or something similar to be able to identify Vermont organizations that can do work that's outlined in our digital empowerment plan. So I see a question from Tracy. If we're familiar with Access Vermont. Tracy, do you want to speak more to that? And I'm just assuming that that is in response to what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah,
And then
it's an event that is for state employees. It's happening at the Waterbury State Office Complex on March 18th and 19th. One, it's a great place to learn about accessibility practices, which you could employ during your interactions with folks through social media or your websites, your videos, etc. But it might also be a great place to talk about what you guys are doing. and a good touch point for people that have an interest in accessibility and working with the public through providing accommodations. I tried to put the link in the chat, but it's too long apparently. So.
No, that's very helpful. I've added a note for that as well. That's great. And so it's similar to, and maybe this is also going to be part of the work that we're going to be doing. And I shouldn't say maybe, this will be part of the work that we're going to do, is having opportunity to be able to share out on the programming that we're going to be launching for next year. And I'm curious, because I know that I've spoken to some of you that are attending today, and I know there's like a general sense or a general like interest in doing some like more work like with that can be funded, right? That goes beyond what we're experiencing right now. So and Laura, I see your hands raised, and so I'm just going to also raise this before I call before I turn to you, that I'm curious, like, what would be most beneficial in terms of like supports. I know we've talked about this, like in a core team, we have more people here, folks that are doing this work, like what supports and what ways like do you envision where that could be like best for you? And so then I'll let folks think about that, and then Laura, see your hands raised.
I just wanted to add about that Vermont. So I'm happy to connect you with who you need to connect with to register to attend. And I'm hoping that maybe everyone in this room can share information about this if you know someone who works for state government, because it's really trying to upgrade accessibility in general. And so this is a good place to start. We had our first event last year. We had almost over 400 people, both in person and virtually. So I'm hoping to expand that. And I also wanted to mention, when you asked about event, like I said earlier, if we want to connect with the deaf community, the hard of hearing or deaf blind community, we do have an event. It's not advertised yet, but it's going to be in May in Burlington. So please put that on the radar. I really encourage you to go. Once I get the flyer and all the information, I'm more than happy to share with you guys. And it's not limited just to people in Citizen County. It's a statewide related event for all the resources that help the population that I work with.
Brittany, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Heron, because I definitely was talking. So I was saying that thank you for that, Laura, and I see that Destiny's also interested. So what I'll do is when I email you, Laura, about this, I'll include Destiny in the email so that there's that connection. Okay. So I want to also just bring it back to the question I had around the capacity building subgrant program. And I think even I can, as you're thinking about that program and like how it can benefit you or the communities that you serve, I'm also curious because we're going to be doing a digital navigator program as well. That's going to be more of this like almost like an umbrella of support for Vermonters with in terms of like the access piece and resource list and opportunities through that program.
Brittany, could you just share your question with me again? I'm sorry.
Yep, I can. So we have 3 programs that are going to be launching for year 2. So my question was, as we're thinking about these programs, a digital navigator program, That's really kind of more of like the larger program that the other programs can kind of fall into, because it's more of just like digital resources for Vermont. And then we have the capacity building sub-grant program. That program is going to be where we're going to provide funding for organizations to build their capacity to do digital equity related work. And then we have a device program where we're going to be, we're in process right now of trying to secure like annual donations of devices that we can refurbish and get to Vermonters in need. And so in thinking about those programs, what I'm curious about, and like my question was more specific to the capacity building sub-grant and the digital navigator program, like what would be beneficial to you all or to the Vermonters that you serve for these programs and like services. I know we talked at length in the past about like just addressing the barriers of like access, skills, and devices, and like and I know that there's some of you that are doing that work currently. And so just curious to open this space.
Just speaking for myself, I'm just going to say, and this is again an intergenerational problem. It just presents itself in different ways. The first thing that really surfaces is digital safety training. Digital safety training is such a big deal for our older Vermonters, for our younger Vermonters. To Christine's point about the misinformation and the AI aspect of this has like created where there was a gap, it is now like a cavern. And that this has furthered this divide. And so I'm seeing it with like the Vermonters I'm supporting who are older, and that's coming out in different ways, but also our very youngest Vermonters that are in school and our teachers who are trying to support them because they're using, you know, sometimes AI essay writings. And just like across the board, the first thing would be like just digital empowerment around digital safety. That is kind of a screaming issue that I'm finding all over the place. And I'd be curious to hear if other people are getting the same thing, but that is like the first thing that comes to mind. And misinformation, which ties into that same thing about digital safety. And AI, again, is really creating, and there's, you know, because we're all users and we're all regulators too. And frankly, most people don't know that. Like older Vermonters aren't aware of that. And now we have a lot of policies, especially with this new administration, that are going to, frankly, just throw gasoline on this burning fire. And so people don't know that they're regulating their own use, but that's really what they are. And the internet is kind of designed that way. So I think that's the kind of thing that I'm not saying I'm panicking about it, but I'm kind of panicking about it a little bit. I just think that that's crucial.
Well, thank you.
And I have so much more to say, Brittany. I just need to get I could talk about this for another 3 hours. I don't want to take anybody. I want to be respectful of our time. I know we have a cutoff in 5 minutes, so I'm just going to email you. But I have a whole mountain of information to share.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And we'll definitely connect offline. And I think it'll be good to have a one-on-one. Heather, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, I would love just any information you're getting from your research so we can help our populations on the ground. That would be really useful. I'm not sure how you're planning on sharing that out, or if you're planning on sharing that out, it would be just super helpful to get that information because those populations, you know, we serve those populations as well. So that would be great. As far as the RFP process, I mean, our funding our project would be wonderful. We're doing the work. We're having great success. So just collaborating more together, figuring out what resources you are using and building in the state would be fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So we have, and I know we have about 3 more minutes, so I'll just respond to you, Heather. So we're in process now of creating a dashboard. And so that's intended to be interactive and to be able to provide like the data that we're collecting. And so then we also, you could come to the monthly listening sessions, right? And the listening is more like I'll be listening. So then if you come to those sessions and you have a question or you want an update from me, I can provide it in those spaces. And then we'll also be having these quarterly sessions where we'll be sharing out on like what's happened since the last time we've met. So, okay. And then as we're wrapping up, I'm just looking, giving some attention to the chat. So I see Jean provided a link. Thank you, Jean. Matthew, I see Consumer Reports wants to contact us. And you can send anyone my way, and I'm happy to meet with whomever and see how our work aligns. And
Yeah, this is Matt. Yeah, Brittany. Yeah, this is Matt. They just contacted me just now about I had Zoom in just 30 minutes ago. They just want now they're interested in what we're going to go forward. Yeah, just I'm going to send you their email contacts. They just want someone in the state that's doing this type of work, not just privacy, protection data, but data in general. And I think they just want to reach out to, organizations that have this, that wants to be involved. Thank you.
great. Yes. And Tracy, we will be increasing awareness about accessibility tools, and that'll happen through our Digital Navigator program. And I see we have 1 minute left, but Sarah, I see your hands raised, so we'll end with you.
Oh God, this is Sarah. So just thinking in terms of when grants are going out and that sort of thing, a lot of times we go around equity work and try to find populations that we want to work with. And I think that that's important because sometimes you want to have a certain amount of money go in different directions. But I think the more that we can do of programming that's across the board, but that programming is accessible in all the different ways. So like however we need to have conversations about that, I think that that might be a good way for us to spend some time around equity and making sure programs are just accessible to everybody to begin with and provide that equity. Thank you.
That's very helpful. We can definitely, when we have our list of organizations, we'll definitely move. We'll have like orientation meetings and such so that we're all on the same page. So we'll make sure that is a focus. So I know we are at time, so I sincerely appreciate everyone's time and attention today. It was good to see faces I haven't seen in a while and good to see some new ones. So really appreciate you all and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.